Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Journey of a Disability Warrior, the roads we've traveled. Today's guest is Randy Carter. She is the mother of Hudson Carter, and today she'll be sharing her family's unique experiences and things that they've learned throughout their journey. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
We can get started by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, your son, and your family.
Okay. Well, I am a former educator and I now stay home with my son, and I enjoy participating in some civic organizations in the Pine Belt that help children and parents obtain available resources. Hudson has multiple disabilities. He's our biggest blessing and just a joy to anybody who meets him. He loves numbers and letters, and he's just taught us so much about ourselves, and we're just and I mean we're just completely blessed to be his parents and to be a part of his little life. He's just wonderful.
Take me back to those early days of doctor's appointments and trying to get the diagnosis, and just explain a little bit about how that process was for you and your family, and also for Hudson.
That was a really, really, really challenging journey. And it was just because as a parent, I felt very inadequate to meet Hudson's needs during that time. It was We had no idea about the PTI at that time. And so it was very challenging to acquire services for Hudson's. While he did have, physicians that were very, very supportive, um, his pediatrician was amazing and an amazing resource for us. At the same time, we had a hard time with the First Steps program getting services for Hudson. So that was a real challenge for us. But, and God, it sounds cliche, but God opens doors, and it's the power of prayer. And we kind of let go and let God. A way was made for Hudson. And really that's just kind of our little history in a very, very small nutshell, because this has spanned over 2 years. So 2 years and down into 20 seconds.
What advice would you give to other parents that are dealing with a new diagnosis?
Um, well, if there are parents who are dealing with a new diagnosis, my biggest recommendation, and what is such a lifesaver for us, is to connect with your community, your individual community, and then expand that to Facebook. Look for groups on Facebook where there are parents of children with similar disabilities, and those parents are often great resources because they've been through this journey before, and they know adequate ways to help you support your child through their own journey. And so another resource that has been extremely eye-opening and helpful for us is to find groups on Facebook that are adults with the same disabilities that our child has, and to hear adult voices and adult perspectives because they have their own views on how they were parented and how their journey through therapy. And it's so helpful to listen to those adult voices, um with of adults with disabilities. Everyone has a need or a set of needs that are unique to them. And so within our society as a whole, there's a need for acceptance and increased accessibility for disabled children and disabled adults. And so I am extremely passionate about advocating for positive change within our community. And from being Hudson's mom, it has changed me just immensely in every way. The opportunity to be his mom has been my biggest blessing. our biggest gift. And I celebrate and appreciate the opportunity to learn the best ways to meet Hudson's needs. And so I feel empowered to advocate him and for others. And because of Hudson, I've learned to advocate even for myself where I did not know how to do that before. So my walk with Christ has grown stronger. And as a parent and a guardian, each day we have this unique opportunity for growth and an evolving perspective. And I'm so thankful for that. Early intervention has been, I mean, I just think it's beyond importance, it's just a necessity. Some parents may not want to use the resources that are available to them, and that's okay. That's okay. But we need to know that there are resources and they need to be there because for like Hudson, he wasn't meeting his milestones, and you could see that Hudson, even as a small child, he had personal goals. So one of his diagnoses is apraxia of speech, which is a neurological condition that prevented him from speaking. And one of his goals, he loves letters and numbers. One of his goals was to sing his ABCs. He worked on it all day, every day. It was just, if you knew Hudson, you knew that was his goal. And early intervention and targeting, getting to know Hudson and targeting his goals and our goals for as a family helped him reach those goals. And so he so happily is able to sing his ABCs now. But each family, each child, they have their own goals and their own unique needs, and early intervention helps each individual family meet those goals and needs. So it's imperative that we provide our family and our community with early intervention services. Our experience with early intervention was it was really quite rocky at first. It was a difficult journey with our state's early intervention program. And that's actually how I found the PTI. So once PTI got involved, we were able to secure the services that our son needed. And he had a special instructor. He actually had three special instructors, two got other jobs and left their career. And our third special instructor, I was so nervous about getting yet another special instructor, but our third one, her name was Shauna Gavin, and she was an absolute answer to a prayer. But she taught us how to best interact and best communicate with Hudson in our home. And so what is so beautiful about early intervention is that it takes place in the home setting. And so being in our home, we were able to play with toys that he had here, and she was able to show us how to take that toy and how to scaffold it down to meet his needs, or take that same toy and do other activities with it to meet a higher level need that he may need, that needed to be met, or in a way that he wanted to interact or communicate with us.
With Hudson now being 3, how has that experience been transitioning out of early intervention, and what is this new phase like? How has it been going so far?
Well, I will say that our transition was seamless. Not at all like our transition into early intervention. Our transition out of early intervention was seamless. And that is completely in part to a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful team that Hudson has. I mean, wow, they're each individual, I mean, they're just amazing, and they have so many strong suits that they bring to the table and for our family. But that is in part for his school. He goes to the Communication Center, our Children's Center for Communication and Development at USM, and they're amazing. I mean, they are nothing short of amazing. And so but not everybody has that story, and not everybody has that seamless experience. And that is where I want to say the PTI comes in. And so if that's not your story, if your story isn't seamless, the PTI is there to support and help and create that seamless transition. the PTI has been a lifeline. I mean, in our darkest times as a family, the PTI was there, and I will forever and forever and forever be grateful for that. And so I don't even want to get kind of emotional even talking about it, because it was such a hard time just acquiring services for our son. Like, we wanted to support him adequately, and that was very difficult. And the PTI was there to show us resources that were helpful in doing that. And they helped us to learn our rights, what rights we had as a parent, what rights we had, or what rights our son had, and how to advocate for those rights in a way that was appropriate and meaningful, and that was successful. It created progress, and so we're so thankful for the PTI in that way.
And what do you feel like you've learned the most from working with the PTI?
Whew, that could be its own interview, but
In a
but
nutshell.
yeah, in a nutshell, in 20 seconds, I mean, everything that I have learned has come from the PTI. So I will say, like, the most valuable resources are those live webinars, and then the archived webinars are great places to start. The resources that Leslie Junkin, the director, has provided for us has been, I mean, just an abundance. I mean, she is such a knowledgeable person. She's a great listener. She has just, shown us the paths to take to best help Hudson. And so some resources that she's given me, look, I brought them to this because they're great. They're great. From Emotions to Advocacy and the Everyday Guide to Special Education Law. These have been so wonderful in kind of knowing and reading about what our rights are. Also, the Procedural Safeguards Handbook is something that she gave us, which every parent gets in an IEP meeting, but it's kind of hard to understand. And Leslie's been there to kind of to guide us and to coach us and to help us to understand what those rights are. And like I said, the webinars are very, very, very helpful too.
Tell me a little bit about how you prepare for an IEP meeting and what your experience has been like with those now that you have transitioned out of early intervention.
Well, my experience with IEP meetings initially began with IFSP meetings, which was the individualized family service plan, which is like the IEP for babies or for small children. And so we had like I said, it was just a really, really rocky experience. And so I kind of learned the hard way initially. But something that has been very beneficial for me with all IEP meetings and IFSP meetings is to ask for all documents that are going to be discussed. If any documents going to be discussed, I would like to see it ahead of time. I need time to review it at home. I get out my highlighters and my pens. I make notes of any questions I have or any concerns that I want addressed during the meeting. And so I also review my procedural safeguards before every meeting. I just kind of read over those. It just helps me to feel a little bit better. And then another thing is that when I go in IEP meetings or IFSP meetings, a lot of acronyms tend to be used. And so I've learned to speak up and to say, I don't really know that acronym. Can you either not use acronyms, or can you explain to me what it means each time you use them? So that's very important, and something I learned from our very initial rocky journey. But this has served me so well in other areas. Anytime now that I sign a legal document, I always take a picture immediately after I sign, and then I request a copy of the documents before I leave. And I go home and I add those to my file. And that has served me so well in all settings, not just in educational settings, but in any settings where you have to sign a legal document. But that was something I learned the hard way with our early intervention program.
Tell me a little bit about the importance of keeping records and what records to keep, and just a little bit about that organizational aspect of having a child with a disability, what that means, and why it is so important to have good organizational skills, and how do you do it?
Yes, yes. Okay, so that was something I learned from Leslie Junkin, the director, and then also through our webinar, and additionally from a webinar that she posted. But one thing that I do is I keep a journal by my bed. And you can use a planner, you can use a journal, but every single day I write down something from our day. Either what therapist we saw, or what therapist canceled, or if we canceled, why we had to cancel. Did I provide a doctor's excuse? Any of those little things throughout our day, my mileage. Um, if Hudson, we saw progress, or if he came out of therapy and seemed a little stressed, like all of those things, they help me to kind of go back and recall all the progress that we've seen. And it's been helpful. It's been very, very helpful. And then it was also helpful whenever we were kind of being denied services. That came in handy to say, look, these are all the times I reached out, and this is what I was told, and so documenting is the best thing that you can, a best tool in your toolbox, that you can have, or one of the best. And then the other thing is just keeping a file, whether it be digitally or just a paper file, with the IEP, a current IEP, past IEP, any kind of assessments, any grades that are great or alarming. I mean, just anything that you think you may need to go back and reference, keep that in a file. And I like to do it in a chronological order. So I just kind of start the back of my, and my file is like the date that's furthest away, and I work towards the front with the most updated information, which makes it really easy to add to or to reference.
What are some of the strategies that you use to stay calm and focused during those sometimes stressful IEP meetings?
Well, they can be stressful, and not, I mean, we have an awesome team. Our team is incredible, and I still have, stress during, anytime during a meeting like that. But just staying calm is just being prepared. And so, like I said, just having those documents, and just, it's okay to say, I need a minute. This is a lot of information. I need a second to process that. So I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to step out and get a drink of water. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, I need a minute just to write some notes and to collect my thoughts. And that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to feel pressured to move beyond your comfort zone in an IEP meeting. And that's so important to know that. But that's not something that anybody tells parents. But I think that's a key to being calm, and just, keeping it kind of low stress, is just knowing when to step up and step out for a second, or to get a drink of water, or to just take a breather and say, let's pause. You don't even have to leave the room. You can just, say, let's pause for a minute. Let me collect my thoughts. And I think that's really helpful for me personally, that and just being very prepared. Parents, we also can, remember it's within our rights to provide notice to the school within 24 hours and request to record the meeting. Now, of course, it is within the school's rights to additionally record the meeting as well. But that can be very helpful and beneficial. It also helps if you're getting overloaded with information, to just be able to go back and have reference to, to that conversation. Because, and I was in a situation, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about a situation that I had with early intervention, where I notified them ahead of time that I wanted to record the meeting, just so that I could, have the information to reference later. And the person in charge of the meeting tried to tell me that I couldn't, and that I shouldn't, and she didn't want to be recorded. And I just had to politely say, I understand, but this is within my rights. And so if we can just go on with the meeting. And she did. And that was, and it helped me. It helped. That was one thing that definitely kept me calm, was to know that if I missed something, I could go back and kind of listen in later and recall all the information that was given me, because it was a lot of information. And in that same meeting, prior to that meeting, I'd also given notice and requested an advocate. I didn't know, I knew you could have an advocate. I didn't know that I had to call the PTI directly. So I actually asked early intervention for an advocate, and they told me that one wasn't available. They tried to secure one, but no one was available, and that had never happened. Yeah. And so another thing to help with meetings and to feel calm is to know that it's within our rights to bring an advocate, or bring someone that makes you feel calm or secure, or gives you a little bit more confidence to the meeting. Being an advocate means creating an expectation and a demand for our society to recognize, accept, celebrate the uniqueness of each individual, while making education and public places equally accessible for everybody. That, for me, in a nutshell, is advocacy and what's important, in my heart. And so right now at 3, we are already and have already been working on self-advocacy. And what our focus is for him as a toddler is, and his communication challenges, is to use various methods of his choice to communicate his needs. And so we use an AAC device, or pictures, like pointing to pictures, or if he is compelled or are able to use words to communicate those needs, to do that. But it's just providing various means to communicate his needs with us, or with any individual that he comes into contact with, whether that be a therapist, or a friend, or a friend's parent, or a family member. And so that's where we are, but it's so evolving. And as Hudson grows, that's something that is going to continue to evolve and change. And I'm learning every single day about how to help him do that. And that's one thing I'm so thankful for the PTI, is because these are parents who have experience advocating for their children, and through the Parent Advisory Council, through the PTI, I have this group of parents who are also advocating for their children. So we're learning together. And then we have these awesome kind of mentors like Leslie, and she just has great experience as a parent of an adult with disabilities. And she just is a wealth of knowledge on how to advocate for Hudson. And I'm so thankful for her and our council and in the PTI for that.
Speaking about the Parent Advisory Council that is through the Mississippi Parent Training and Information Center, tell me a little bit about what made you decide to participate, and the experience, what it was like going through that last year. And I know you still have a role in it this year. Speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, joining for us was a no-brainer. As a parent of a child with disabilities, I think you'll be hard pressed to find a better use of your free time. Like, truly, it is a wonderful experience to connect, to communicate, to learn. And that's the thing, is just like learning how to support your child. That's what it's all about. And through the Parent Advisory Council, those tools have been given to me, like, again, the books, the Emotions to Advocacy and Everyday Guide to Special Education Law, provided with these books, provided with resources, with listening ear, and all in the name of helping Hudson, a child that they've they've never even met. And that's the case with all of the parents and the children involved. It's definitely a network of support and resources, all in the name of helping children and adults.
And what would you tell a parent who may be undecided about whether they should join the Parent Advisory Council or something similar? And why do you feel like they definitely should?
Like I said, I could go on and on and on about the PTI and the Parent Advisory Council, just because they were such a lifeline. I mean, it was a resource that I never even knew existed, and just it was an answer to a desperate prayer. It was a desperate prayer answered, and it was. I mean, and like you just don't feel alone, and I had no idea how to meet Hudson's needs. I was a first time parent. I didn't know. And through the advisory council and through the mentorship that I had received there from parents and from, like I said, the director, Leslie Junkin, I feel empowered as a mom to advocate for my child and to help him and to help him succeed.
And how important is having good communication with your child's team, including therapists and doctors and teachers and all of that that includes?
It's a necessity. I mean, it's absolutely imperative to have team members who are willing and able to participate. And I mean, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. We have our team currently spans 3 states and 900 miles. Like that is our team. Like it is huge. It's a big team. And all in the name of supporting Hudson and meeting his needs. And we went and saw a physician, and I would explain like, hey, we have this team and we'd love for you to be a part of it. And he just shut me down, I mean, point blank, and was like, I don't want to be a part of that team. And I had heard like wonderful things about this physician. He came highly recommended. And so I was like, oh, it really caught me by surprise, and I was, he basically was like, you can choose me or the team. And I was like, okay, well, we choose the team. And it was and like his honesty, like I was very caught off guard by that, but his honesty saved us so much time and heartache. And so as a parent, you kind of have to think it is a team, and you kind of have to think of yourself as like, I won't say the coach because I'm not qualified for that, but you're like the recruiter, and you're out there seeking the best team members for your child's team.
What are your hopes for Hudson's future?
Well, you know, our biggest hope for Hudson, and always has been, that he has a life that he finds fulfilling. We hope he lives a very Christ-centered life that is very fulfilling and happy for him. And we also just hope that we hope to give him the tools to advocate for himself and to advocate for others. And we would love to see him advocate for himself throughout his life and for other people.
That sounds wonderful. And I want to just thank you again for coming on today and sharing yours and Hudson and your family's story and your journey. And I know it's just beginning. You have so many more wonderful years ahead. So again, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak about the PTI and the Parent Advisory Council, and even a couple shout outs and plugs to our team who probably will never see this, but my goodness, they deserve all the praise because they have been amazing in our journey with Hudson, and in Hudson's journey himself. If there's any parent who can benefit from the PTI, please share that. Please share it, because our way of finding out was, like I said, it was an answer to a desperate prayer. It was just kind of by incident. We had a mutual friend who knew about the PTI and connected us, um and it's been a lifeline. So please share the PTI for anybody that you think could possibly benefit.